Welcome to Biblical Women's Exploits, where we uncover the incredible stories of women in the Bible. Today we dive into an often debated topic: women preachers in the New Testament. Did women preach, teach, and spread the gospel in the early church? You might be surprised at what the Bible actually says. Stay tuned as we explore their powerful contributions. The New Testament reveals that women played an active role in spreading the gospel. Let's start with some notable women who were instrumental in the early church. One of the most significant women in ministry was Priscilla. She, along with her husband Aquila, was a powerful teacher of the word. In Acts 18 verses 24 to 26, we see her instructing Apollos, a well-versed preacher, in the deeper truths of God. What's fascinating is that Priscilla's name is often mentioned before her husband's, highlighting her leadership role. She was not just a helper, she was a teacher of the gospel. Have you heard of Phoebe? Paul calls her a deacon in Romans 16 verses 1 to 2 and entrusts her with delivering his letter to the Roman church. This was no small task. In ancient times, letter carriers were responsible for explaining the contents of the message. That means Phoebe likely preached Paul's words to the early believers. In other words, women were entrusted with key leadership roles in the early church. She was a trusted leader in the early church. Then there's Junia, mentioned in Romans 16 verse 7. Paul refers to her and Andronicus as outstanding among the apostles. For centuries, some tried to argue that Junia was a man, but historical and linguistic evidence confirms she was indeed a woman. Being called outstanding among the apostles suggests she was a well-known preacher and church leader. The next preacher is perhaps the most compelling example of all. She's Mary Magdalene. She wasn't just a follower of Jesus, she was the first person to proclaim his resurrection. In John 20 verses 16 to 18, Jesus tells Mary to go and share the good news with the disciples. This makes her the first evangelist of the risen Christ. Imagine the courage it took to spread such an earth-shaking message in a male-dominated society. What about the Samaritan woman at the well? Do you remember her? After her encounter with Jesus in John 4, she ran to tell her entire town about the Messiah. Her testimony led many to believe. She became the first recorded missionary to the Samaritans, an entire region transformed by the words of one woman. In 1 Corinthians 11 verse 5, Paul acknowledges that women prophesied in the church. Prophecy includes exhortation, encouragement, and teaching. This means women had a voice in the early Christian gatherings. Acts 21 verse 9 also mentions Philip's 4 daughters who prophesied, showing that women were active in proclaiming God's word. From Priscilla to Junia, from Phoebe to Mary Magdalene and the Samaritan woman, the New Testament is filled with examples of women boldly proclaiming the gospel. Despite cultural barriers, these women answered the call to ministry. They were preachers, teachers, and evangelists empowered by God to spread the gospel. Their stories prove that God calls and equips women to lead in ministry. What do you think? Should women preach today? Let's discuss in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more inspiring biblical content. Until next time, keep exploring the powerful stories of women in the Bible.